In fact, as the poet is trying to say that some say in ice, everything will end up on Earth, because the temperature on Earth will go so low that it would be impossible for anyone to survive on the Earth. But here in the third line, the poet says, "From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire." As I gave you an introduction earlier also, the poet is trying to say that desire here has been compared with fire. When we are talking about desire in human terms, desire is something that does not end up very easily. I did discuss that in the class also. The more we have, the more we want. This is human tendency, and I don't think we can fix it in the near time, anytime. So, but because the two components are compared with fire and ice, the poet says that he thinks that I hold with those who favor fire, means he supports, and he thinks that he would prefer that the earth finishes up in fire. Fire has been compared here with desire, as I said earlier. So, in human terms, the poet is trying to compare these two components, where the desire also, if it is uncontrolled, if our human emotions are not controlled, it will end up in perishing everything. Uh, Basically, you'll end up in just an uncontrolled chaos, because you have no control over your emotions. As fire also will extinguish and sorry, fire also will burn everything and finish everything. So he prefers that the poet is saying that he would prefer to that the earth finishes up in the same context. In a deeper note, although this is a very short poem, but the poet is trying to portray it on a very larger perspective. Larger perspective is because he's trying to bring out the negative part of desires. It is always good to have a desire. It is always good to aim for something, but then when the desires are uncontrollable, it will end up in the same way as fire can end up and finish everything. Coming back to the second stanza that we have, I hope you have understood whatever I'm trying to explain, and I'll appreciate that you'll follow the rules that we have in the class by making notes in your book with a pencil, so that it will help you to make notes in your own words. Apart from that, you have um, the access of going through the video repeatedly in case if you don't understand. So, coming back to the second stanza that we have, it says that, "But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction ice is also great and would suffice." So basically what the poet is trying to say is that if it had to perish twice, perish means finish something completely, end, I think I know enough of hate. Another desire and another human emotion that the poet has compared ice with is hatred. Hatred which not only ends up a relationship in human terms, but more importantly, it ends up you as a human being, by you end up eating up yourself internally. And this hatred can go on and on for as long as you want. um, and so that has been compared with coldness, with ice. Usually in poetry, coldness is a cold heart usually is referred to someone who has no emotions. What God has given us as human beings is emotions to express what we feel in our heart. And one of the strongest and destructive emotions that we have is hatred. Something that we cannot live on for a very, very long time. And in case if you think that you want to live up with hatred, you end up like ice. So here the poet is trying to say, if it had to perish twice, if the earth had to finish in both terms, either by fire, by ice, either by hatred or by desire, I think I know enough of hatred. There are trillion examples of hatred in our own world, in our own lives, in our society, in our neighborhood, in whatever atmosphere we are living in. So the poet is also giving the same example of 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 hatred. If you have made up an atmosphere where you are living up in an atmosphere of hatred, it will not only finish you completely, but it will finish everything which is around you. To say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. It is enough to finish this earth with ice. Ice as in hatred. So, what Robert Frost is trying to say, that whatever way you choose, either by desire or by hatred, either by fire or ice, the end result is same. Both emotions will end up you in a catastrophic end. Both scenarios, forces of nature, fire and ice, will end you up in the same way. To say that destruction, ice is also great. So it's not that there is any chance of survival in fire, and in the same case there is no chance of survival in an icy climate, in an icy atmosphere, in an atmosphere or a world which is full of hatred. And would suffice. Suffice means it is sufficient for the earth to end. So both scenarios end up and we come to the conclusion that that there is no way that we can live with these two emotions. That we cannot live with fire and ice. Look at the recent example of the Australian bushfires. Where did it end up? Australia is still burning, and the result is that we have just lost almost 2/3 of the forest area in Australia. So basically, there is no benefit from that. In the same way, ice has also the same destructive qualities. So Robert Frost has very cleverly compared these two features, these two forces of nature with human qualities, and he's trying to portray and he's trying to emphasize on the fact that if we do not let go of these emotions in a positive way, it will end up in destroying you and I as a human being, and it will end up in destroying one of the most beautiful ways of expressing human emotions. If we have no control over our desires, if we have no control over our inner feelings, and in the same way, if we have unmonitored, I should say, feeling of hatred, it will end up in destroying the whole world. It will end up in destroying you and I. It will end up destroying the human quality of love and compassion and kindness. So I hope that you have understood. This is the first time, so I hope that you have understood what I'm trying to say. In case if you have not, so please do not hesitate to mention or keep your comments in the Google Classroom section. In the app, you have a section where I will be uploading the video, and at the same time you will be getting your assignments, as in what are you supposed to do with that. So once we finish this, what I want from you is that please make sure that you make a note of whatever was explained in the virtual classroom, and I want a beautiful summary in 9 to 14 lines in your notebook. So the submission date and details will be given on the Google Classroom. In the meantime, I'm just going to rub up the first portion so that I'll reiterate how to write a summary. I did explain it in the class, I think in 10th A, but I'm just going to repeat in case if I've missed someone. So summary writing is basically it's a gist of whatever was said in the poem. So basically, summary writing consists of 9 to 14 lines, beautiful 9 to 14 lines, in which you will tell me what was going on, what were we talking about in the poem. So when you start the summary, please start it in this format. The poem. When you write the name of the poem, written by, mention the name of the poet in caps, in capital letters. Tells us about. And then you start with the whole story, the gist. Right in the right hand corner, when you finish the summary, write the name of the poet in caps, capital letters. So in this scenario,